Because I didn't label it all the way out.
Yeah, no, that's it. I can tell from the
I just
scale.
leave it.
All right, I'm going to say a few things just because I have to record this for the people at the convention. So if you go to Blackboard and go to Credit Union, download the LiDAR zip file. Oh, also, guys, did you download the grading key? Okay, good. Okay, and then all right, and then extract this. And then just this extracted file in your folder. Your GIS. Okay, great. All right, so back in GIS, let's head into model space. I'm going to refresh my folder. And there is, okay, so does everybody have these 4 LAS files?
Yes, sir.
All right, just drag and drop them over. Okay, so if you zoom out too far, they tend to disappear, the points, and the symbology, which is how data is represented, that's just the term they use in GIS. The symbology is pretty intuitive. The red color means high, and the blue is the lowest. And if you twirl one of these open, you can see that. Okay, so our site, of course, was right in between 2 data sets. So we have to merge all of these data sets together, and this is going to come in handy because our next project is right here. So this is going to help us.
Which ones did you grab the LAS files?
Did you download them from Blackboard?
Yes, sir.
Make sure you're not on
You-
the layout. You're gonna be on
You may need to refresh your folder.
Okay, well, yes, I've seen these over. Probably on my own, but so I just put it.
Okay. Cut these tabs. Yeah, everything except for the grading. No. Just cut it off.
the. I didn't refresh the
All right, now go to. Yeah. Just hold down shift and just call it light up. And just dump them in there and then just drag and drop over. Okay, now there's so many of these tools in GIS that you can never remember them all. What's important is to remember where to access them. You go to analysis and then you go to tools, and really the best way to work with GIS, since they have hundreds of tools, is just type what you want to do. So merge LAS and let's just say merge LiDAR, not LODAR. Hold on. Let's just type in LAS. LAS merge. Okay, type in create LAS data set. I just learned how to do this last night. All right, now for your input files, shift select your 4 LAS files and just drag them up here to the top. And then the out of put LAS, let's call this, remember don't go in front of this /, but let's call this, remember no spaces either, TTU underscore CU for credit union, and just call this LiDAR. Okay, and then just run this. Okay, sweet. Now we can remove the bottom 4 LAS files. Right clicking and do a Control S to save your project. Okay, now I want to try something. I've actually never done this. Let's go to map and go to insert, and where it says new map, choose new local scene. Yeah. Okay, hold on a sec. Let me head over there. No, that's all right. All right, so what we're going to do here is in your geoprocessing pane, where you get to look for your tools, type in LAS to TIN, and you're going to get this LAS data set to tin. Okay, and then you could just drag over your merged file. Okay, now output tin, put your this bar right after CU and get rid of all that junk at the end, and do an underscore and just call this TIN. All right, now this is what's critical. It won't work if it's trying to do the entire data set because it's too big. So click on environments, and for extent, click on this first icon, which is for the current display extent. And that gives the computer the coordinates for our sheet of paper. Okay, then just click run. And you have created your first tin. Now, where you can make this a whole lot more refined is by right-clicking on your tin and going to symbology. Okay, and come up here and click on this last icon, symbolize your layer surface. Okay, so right now we're only using 9 classes. Let's go all the way to 32. Okay, and you're gonna see how much more refined that is. Will was showing me, like, you can even see the height of the roof as it descends down. Okay, you can see that garden bed around the drive-through, and you can see, most importantly, the general lay of the land as to how the civil engineers graded it. And you can see that nearly all the water is coming down, not all of it, but at least on this half of the site is coming down to this point here. And so that's why they installed that riprap, because if all that water just rushed into this south edge of the site, it would have created a lot of erosion. Okay, so now what I would like you to do is go to share and export this layout. Okay, and we're going to export this as a JPEG, and we're going to put it in our, let's just put it in our GIS folder for now to keep it simple, but make sure you name it tin. All right, and click OK. And then for the resolution, we have to take that way down. These really can't be over 5,000. So bring that down to like 125, because remember, this is a 24 by 36 inch sheet of paper. So 125 works perfect. And then just hit export. And once that's done, cut it out of your GIS folder and paste it into your survey folder, and then we're going to all start a fresh drawing, and we're going to import our base, and we're going to start our grading plan. Okay, so double click on the template.
Yeah, we use the same one.
Okay, so before we head over to model space, Nate, what is the sheet going to be labeled as?
Should be LG.
Excellent. LG 101. G for grading, and it's the first sheet. Now, what you can also do, if you had tons of stuff filled out, here it's just your name, so it's not a big deal. But if there was a lot of stuff, you could just copy the layout from a drawing you already finished, and then right-click and do that paste to original coordinates. All right, so let's go into model space. Okay, now open up layers, Layer, and we're going to make a new layer, and we're going to call it X-TIN, and double click on status to make that act. Well, we're not going to make that one active yet. Let's make another layer, and we're going to call this X-base-land. Okay, that's the one we want to make active. And so now type in xref. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Before we go any further, let's come up here and save this. So do a save as, and we have to save it as a drawing. All right, and navigate to your credit union, O2-CAD, and then at the bottom where it says type of file, change that to AutoCAD drawing, and you're just going to call this LG101 grade plan. I just choose save. Okay, now we have a DWG. All right, so with our XBase land active, let's type in xref. Okay, and we are going to attach a DWG, and we're going to attach our base plan. It should say base land, but we put everything in one, including architecture and stuff. So let's just choose open. Okay, now, just so you understand what some of this means, if you make your reference an attachment, that means whatever is XREF'd into what you're XREFing comes along for the ride, okay? If you make it an overlay, just the CAD work that's originally on that file comes in, none of the XREFs. So leave it as an attachment, because we want that. You always want this at relative. And then what's so important when you're working in construction documentation is that everything lands perfectly on top of one another. And so you never should have to have any of this selected, okay? Because you've already established your coordinates with your base plan. All right, so click OK. And then you can double click your wheel or do ZE to zoom extents. All right, great. Now, let's come back to XREF, file reference. Okay. And this time we are going to attach an image, the one we just made. Okay. And let me put that in my survey folder like I told you guys to do. So that exported file, if it's in your GIS file, cut it out of there and put it in your survey folder so we have all of our XREF imagery in one folder. You don't want your XREF stuff all over the place. Okay, now let me come here to survey, and there it is, tin. Okay, now if we've done this correctly, click open. Okay, now we need to specify the scale here. Remember, we did this at 20 scale, right? So what that means, on a 36 by 24 inch sheet of paper at 20 scale, we scaled this up by 240 times. So if you go back to CAD, under scale, this is one time, yes, where you will actually do this. You're going to type in 240 and it's going to scale perfectly for you, okay? And then we want it to be at 0, 0. That's where we put our first underlay. And so just click OK and boom. Now, let me show you how to work with this so it doesn't drive you crazy. Select your image, okay, and then right click and choose draw order, send to back. Okay, now select your image again and come up to fade. This ribbon will automatically unroll and fade it down to about there. I guess like 50 or so, 60% is good. Okay, I'm gonna just right click again. If this draw order gets finicky, and send to back. Now what you want to do is come over to your layers and you want to lock. I don't know if I put this on my tin layer. Make sure this is on your tin layer. So select this thing again, go to home. Yeah, I put it on the wrong layer. So just click here and select X tin to put it on the right one. Did that make sense, Nate?
Yeah, just something, I think something wrong with mine.
Okay, I'll come around and help you guys individually. And then to keep this in the back and not jumping back and forth all the time, the way to do it is you send it to the back and then you lock the layer it's on. That's why it needs its own layer. Otherwise, you're going to be locking stuff you don't want to lock. And after you lock it, if your CAD work jumps to the back, just type in regen. Okay, so we XREF this in at a scale of 2. All right, now, so let's open up that grading key drawing. Okay. And this is just to help you as you go through the grading process. So what you can do is just copy everything inside that white rectangle, do a Control-C, and select everything, and then hit Enter, and then go back to our grading drawing, open up that grading key. Yeah, you're just gonna copy and paste it over to our CAD drawing that we're gonna work on. The one you downloaded from Blackboard. Okay, so it's this little drawing called Grading Key. Just open that fella up. And then the way you copy from one drawing to another is you have to enter the copy command first. So Control-C, select everything that you want to copy, and then you got to push Enter because that loads it into the clipboard. Then go back to your original, the grading plan drawing. And here, we don't need to paste to any coordinates, so just do a Control-V and put it in a convenient spot for you, for yourself. Okay, so this will tell you how to solve for run, which is the distance, for slope, which is the angle of descent or ascent in percentage, and for rise, which is the vertical drop or rise, I guess. So that'll help you. And remember, it's these two guys are division, and the last guy is multiplication. Okay, so let's do something here all together. We're gonna get on a layer. So once you have XREFs in your drawing, your layer panel can be really confusing, but it doesn't have to be, because you really don't need to see your XREF layers. So if you come up here, I think you guys all know this, just all non-XREF layers. And you can see we have just a few, and that's the way we want it. Okay, so what we want to do is click on, let's make a new layer, and we're going to call this L dash text dash GRDE for grading. Okay, now this is where we're going to put our big grades, like our finished floor elevation. So a lot of times what architects do, make sure that layer we just made is active by double clicking the status button. Okay, so what a lot of times what civil engineers will do, instead of using the grade that's above sea level, because you're talking thousands of feet here in Lubbock anyway, not if you're in New Orleans. What they'll do is they know there's only about 3 feet, maybe 4 feet worth of fall in this entire site. So what they're going to do is they're going to just say your FFE, which stands for what, Braden? Anybody? We're looking at the building. FFE is exactly finished floor elevation. So come up, nice, Josh. Come up to FX site and go to text manager and click on that text manager, and I'm gonna choose a big like schedule header, and I'm gonna make this font. Actually, I really like this new font they have. It's called Swiss 721 Black. Okay, and then you can just click M text. All right, and then just draw out a box and type in, with all caps, of course, everything in CAD is caps, FFE, and you're just gonna put 100.00. Okay, so that's your finished floor elevation. And remember that buildings do not have any slope. Okay, so that's the elevation for every corner of these buildings. The foundations don't slope. Now, just do a copy of this. Okay, and we're going to run that over to the other building as well, and we're going to do it over here to the drive-through. We're going to consider that a building. All right, so we've got our finished floor elevation. Now, the other thing, the civil engineer, remember, what is our scope of work, April? The landscape architect is usually in charge of what on a site? Okay, so the architect is in charge of this, of the buildings, and then civil has the road. What is the best way to define for somebody who has no idea what landscape architecture is? What is our scope of work on that site? Everything from the edge of the building foundation to the back of the curb where the street, where the street is, okay? So that's it. So what we need to know now is what is the elevation of the back of curb. So make another copy here. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go straight out. Make sure you have your ortho or your polar on, and we're going to go straight out. Make sure you go straight because this road is sloping and you guys are going to have to figure out the spot elevations for the corners here. Now, what I want you to do is double click on this and call this BOC, back of curb, not Bob, back of curb, and then rotate it And your text, when you rotate it, should always read in this direction. I don't know if that's a rule. That's what Google does, and I think that's pretty safe to assume they probably did a lot of investigation on that. And it's always good to be consistent. Okay, so that's your back of curve. Now, who can tell me, Ella, what is the slope from this point? I'm going to give you the distance to this point. What is, we've got 131 feet. Oh, we didn't change the back of, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, this needs to be at 97.00. Okay, yeah, that wouldn't have worked. Okay, so what is our slope if that line is 131 feet? You get it, Josh? There you go. Yeah. Remember, figure out the difference in elevation comes first. So what's the difference in elevation? 3 feet. Now, yes. By the length, exactly. Exactly. Perfect. That's what we want. 2%. Okay. That's excellent, because the rule of thumb, and it's a very important rule to follow, 20 feet from any structure needs to be graded at a 2% slope away from the structure. Remember, you always build your house on a hill.
So the watershed's on.
Okay, so now what I would like you to do is, and everybody's is going to be a little different, but keeping that in mind, look at your tin, okay? And you can see that these are going to be your lowest spot, okay? So you can draw an arrow and say that this road is sloping 3% going south. That looks like it might be about right, okay? You don't need to grade both sides of the road, okay? To begin with, how about we do this? Why don't we, let's see here. Why don't we drop spot elevations going at 2%? Here's what we can do. Everybody do offset, and we're going to do 20 feet. Oh, shoot, we need that line. Okay, type in N copy. Okay, and this enables you to select a line that is in your XREF, okay? And then the base point, just pick a corner, and then you're gonna drop it right on top of itself. And then you're gonna offset 20 feet. And there you go. Okay, so now let's do the same thing here. N copy. I hit enter, grab a corner, and then put it right back on that corner. O for offset, should still have 20. And then just offset that out, and then delete that original line. Okay, now let's do this guy as well. Last one, N copy. Oh, That one pretty much matched up. Okay, that was the same as the other one. Sorry about that. Okay, now let's do TR for trim. And let's just trim away what we don't need. Let's just make this one contiguous box. So it looks something like that. Okay, now at each of these corners, let's drop a spot elevation. And what we're gonna do is, in FX site, okay, under site callouts in FX site, there's a spot elevation option. Okay, so let's do one here. And remember, we're gonna just say that this is at 20%, and you can leave it at 0 at first, okay? And then add it, or you can do the math first. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna have to draw a line from here to, let's say right here, and that line for me is, where's my properties? 34 feet at 2%, okay? And so you just, you multiply those two together.
Oh, you did it on your phone.
What's that?
I thought you did it, I thought it was on your site. I didn't realize you did it on your site.
Oh yeah, I don't have a calculator with me. Yeah, all right, so everything from the building envelope, the edge of the building, projected out 20 feet is gonna slope at a minimum of 2%, okay? So let's find out the spot elevations. Let's start down here, just where the grass is. So let's do L and come here, and you can see this line is where is it? 28.28 feet. And so if you have the distance, so this is where this comes in handy. If you have the distance, okay, and the slope, which we do, okay, we have 28.28. So let's all put that in our calculator. Where the hell's my calculator?
How do you see how the length of your line? How do you that sequence?
You need to type PROP for properties. And you'll see it at the bottom of your properties panel. I always leave my properties and layers open. Okay, so where the heck's my calculator? Okay, so we had 28.28 times 0.02. That's a 2% slope, and we will be dropping 0.56 feet. Okay, so that means you have to subtract 100 from 0.56.
Do you not round when you do that, or is it 0.5656?
No, I just use the first two numbers.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get into. Remember last semester rounding? A lot of problems. So 100 minus What was that number again? 0.56?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm making copies.
So you have a 99.44 spot elevation here. So what you would do is come up here to site callouts under FX site, and you are going to choose spot elevation. Okay, and you're going to type in that number 99.46, and then when we have a good abbreviation like back of curb or something, we would put it in here. But for now, this is fine, and then it'll just make it for you. Okay, so let's find that one, and now let's everybody stay on the grass because we're going to drop 0.5 feet once we get off of the grass. So why doesn't everybody let's chamfer this line, CHAM, with this one. Whatever.
Don't they have to be touching?
No, I mean the point. I think I have two lines on top of each other. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I do. See, that's the problem. That's why you always need to have that. Okay, so now I can do chamfer. Okay, and now make a line from here to here, and let's all just follow this same, just do the math with me. So the line is 58.10. Okay, so I'm going to type in 58.10, and what do we multiply that by, Nolan? Okay, Caleb? Keegan? What do we multiply 58.10 by?
I'm not sure.
Okay, remember what I said. Every structure needs to have a minimum of a 2% slope, 20 feet around its border. It's usually a lot more than 20 feet, but a minimum of 20 feet. So if it's a minimum of 2% slope, we'll just go with that. So we're going to multiply the length, which is 58.10 feet, by what, Nolan? I mean, Nate.
Maybe by
2%.
maybe by like 2.2.
No, 2% is 0.0. So you go multiply 0.02 equals 1.162. So now what do we do with that number? April. Exactly. You subtract it from your finished floor elevation. So we need to subtract this by 100. And you end up with 98.84, okay? So right here, we're gonna put a spot elevation of 98.84. That's not 99, it's 98. Okay, now, when your contractor gets these drawings and sees your spot elevations, what is he gonna put there? Exactly. The whiskers. He's going to put in that grading stake. Let me get that photo again, because this really is where the rubber meets the road, guys. This is where we've got to be accurate. And it's right now, I know you're like, this is driving me crazy. It's going to get a lot easier. It just takes practice. Okay. So yes, sir.
I'm not sure. I think I offset and being held the same thing. Although, like the corner of the building that we offset.
Yeah, mine is different too. Not bad. Mine was like
Oh, I chamfered those together.
mine was
Okay.
like dying.
Remember I said you gotta clean up these lines, this shit all, get rid of that. Hover over it. All right, guys, turn on your selection. Cycling, this wasn't, yeah, that's right. Oh, you gotta just, turn this guy on. Actually, for now, this is a better one to use. I think that to me was one thing about what was. Okay, go to FX site and go to site formats right in the middle, and you're gonna see a lot of up there. See, they're gonna drive that stake in the ground, and the guys are gonna come by, and they're gonna keep gently scraping that dirt away until they see.
I don't know, but you're really at the risk.
Okay, you know what? I think what's gonna be helpful at this point is if we, let's turn off our tin layer.
Yeah, I took 2 snaps. So highlight everything. Go back to